to support our aims and purport to support our views. Our problem is that so many people who are part of the Conservative movement on both sides of the pond are in fact career politicians, dominated by what is in their own interests. And they know the closer they stay to the big banks and the multinational corporations, the less they cause offence to some in the media, the better their own career prospects may be. We have a problem with Brexit that so many in the Conservative Party, despite being elected on a ticket of delivering Brexit, now seek to delay it, now seek to water it down, now seek to try to pretend it hadn't happened. And you in America have exactly the same problem with members of Congress elected on a Republican ticket and yet doing their damnedest to stop the president from getting his agenda through. It's an enemy within. It's an enemy within. And that is why I have absolutely no hesitation in putting my support and my backing behind a man like Judge Roy Moore, who has shown in his career that he will always put principle before his own career advancement. He is not going to be sucked into the swamp. He is not going to be beholden to anybody. It is getting someone like him elected that will rejuvenate the movement that led to Trump and Brexit and all of those great things happening in 2016. So we need this to happen tomorrow. And people are supporting him because they want President Trump's agenda to succeed, and he's the best man to deliver it, isn't he? So let's send that message out. Send that message out to a skeptical media. The point about getting Judge Roy Moore is to help the president, isn't it? I couldn't hear you. It's to help the president, isn't it? Absolutely. Good. So it's now up to you. You've got to do what you can. You've got to fill your motor cars tomorrow. You've got to get your friends and family. You've got to get them out to vote. You've got to make it happen. And I wish you Godspeed. I really do. Thank you. Thank you. And now I've got a really easy job. My job is to introduce the next speaker, who in some way needs little introduction. You all know what he did in the Trump campaign. You all know what he's done to Breitbart News. What you don't know is the help that he's given other movements like mine in other parts of the world. He is, I think, the greatest political thinker and activist in the Western world today. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Bannon.
Thank you, Alabama. Thank you. Listen, I got a question. Why is the world's media here today? Like Nigel said, why are they here? Why the Financial Times of London, the BBC, NHK? You know why? Because tomorrow is going to decide who has sovereignty in the United States of America. Is it the elites in Washington, D.C. with their money, or is it the people at Alabama with their muscle? Mitch McConnell and this permanent political class is the most corrupt and incompetent group of individuals in this country. Let's have a serious discussion what's going on here in Alabama. They've raised $30 million to Judge Moore's, what, 2 or 3? And they've spent $30 million. They did not come down here to Alabama to have a reasoned discussion with you, to have a debate with you, to have any kind of talk about the issues of immigration, the issues of trade, anything that's important today, America's commitments throughout the world. What they did is spend $30 million to destroy a man. Now, is that money going to work? They didn't have enough smarts to do it in a sophisticated manner. They took out 30-second TV spots. You know why? Because they think you're a pack of morons. They think you're nothing but rubes. They have no interest at all in what you have to say, what you have to think, or what you want to do. And tomorrow, you're going to get an opportunity to tell them what you think of the elites that run this country. Remember, these are the same people that have tried to destroy Donald J. Trump from the first day he announced for office. At $30 million versus 3, it's a spending of 10 to 1. And by the way, for Mitch McConnell and Ward Baker and Karl Rove and Stephen Law, all the instruments to try to destroy Judge Moore and his family, your day of reckoning is coming. But more important, for the donors who put up the money and the corporatists that put up the money, your day of reckoning is coming too. You got to remember something here, folks. This is a business model that works. The corporatist, donor, consultant, K Street, lobbyist, influence peddler, politician class. Washington, D.C., 7 of the 9 richest counties in the country surrounded. Since the first time of the discovery of the silicon chip, the per capita income in Washington, D.C. is higher than Silicon Valley. It's a business model that works because every year they get to spend $4.2 trillion of your money that's going to be a burden on your kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids. These folks are very good. They do one thing right. They know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. And they know the the price of Luther Strange. It's $30 million. They weighed and measured Luther Strange. And at the end of the day, it was $30 million that bought him. He sits there and treats you like a bunch of fools. He says, I'm going to Washington, D.C. to stand up to Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell owns him lock, stock, and barrel. Now people have asked, why Sarah Palin and Phil Robertson and Nigel Farage and Mark Levin and Mark Meadows and Dr. Savage. I could go on and on. Laura Ingraham, right? On and on and on of the people that support Judge Moore and not the candidate that Donald Trump is backing. Well, that takes a moment of reflection. Remember, all the people I named are not sunshine patriots. They've been with Donald Trump from the beginning. These are the hardest core backers of Donald Trump with no give up. I'm here as a private citizen today, not as the CEO of the campaign. I haven't worn this jacket since we were on the campaign. I came to you unshaven, unkempt, in this old bomber jacket, exactly like I was on the campaign. All of the folks I talked about are the hardest core supporters of Donald Trump, and I apologize to Plutarch and to Shakespeare as I do a riff on them, but we did not come here to defy Donald Trump. We came here to praise and honor him. The opposition party right there, the media, they're nothing but the running dogs of the elites of this world. Just like Judge Roy Moore, they didn't come for Donald Trump to have a discussion about immigration. They didn't come and have a discussion about trade. They didn't have a discussion about America's place in the world. No, they were out to destroy Donald Trump personally. Donald Trump has billions of dollars. He was almost 70 years old. He has a lovely wife, terrific kids, friends that you just can't imagine the friends this guy has. He had the perfect life. And why did Donald Trump, at almost the age of 70, run for president of the United States? I saw him up close. It was not for any glory. It was not for any kind of adulation. Donald Trump ran for president of the United States because of his duty to this country. Donald Trump is one of the most courageous individuals I've ever seen, and I've seen it up close. When they try to destroy him every day, it wasn't a debate about his policies. It was about the politics of personal destruction. And every day in Washington, D.C., it's the same thing. How tough do you think it is to get his agenda? No, we got a cute phrase, drain the swamp, okay? But the enemy we face is not cute. And we're not going to do it with slogans. We're just not going to do it because we wish it away. You're going to have to fight every day to take Washington back, and by taking Washington back, take the control of your own lives back. Every person in this country should get down every night and thank God Donald Trump is president of the United States. You know, I was CEO of the campaign. I came into 88 days to go. We were down 16 points. We were losing in every battleground state, and we won. And you know why? We laid out a populist, nationalist, conservative message. Populist because it's anti-elite, because those fools in Davos and Washington, D.C. are totally incompetent and corrupt. Nationalist because we're anti-globalists. We believe in America first, and what's good for this country is good for its citizens. And conservative because we totally reject the progressive movement and what it stands for. Yes. They talk about hate speech. Let's talk about economic hate crimes that have been done on the working men and women in this country. They've gutted this country. They've gutted the manufacturing jobs and shipped them overseas. You know what for? For profit. You think this opioid crisis just came about? There's a direct correlation between the factories and jobs that were shipped to China and the workers left behind with total despair. I saw in this campaign, the way we won was we had a candidate that was the greatest public speaker since William Jennings Bryan, Donald J. Trump. And we had a lot of common sense of where we had to go, and audiences like you in Ohio and Iowa and Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. We did something nobody ever thought could be done. A conservative candidate could win the upper Midwest. Well, we won it in over 300 electoral votes. But I will tell you, on the day of November 8th, I knew it was divine providence that helped us win. And if you think of something else that's providential, think about tomorrow. This is Jeff Sessions' seat that we're going to fill. Yes. Jeff Sessions, the son of Alabama. He's one of the finest men I've ever met. He's pure of heart and tough as boot leather. He is the man with the most integrity in Washington, D.C. He's also a man that Mitch McConnell and all of the elites, the permanent political class, despise. Because unlike Luther Strange, he can't be bought. There's no price that Jeff Sessions can be bought. I'm proud to call him my mentor. I'm proud to call him my brother. We have worked on this project for many, many years. Jeff Sessions is the spiritual father of this movement. He's the original populist and nationalist in this country, and we owe him a great debt of gratitude. The people in Alabama, I ask you tomorrow to keep that in mind when you walk into the voting booth. Remember whose seat that Judge Moore is going to replace. It's Jeff Sessions, one of the most unique men. Forget politicians, one of the most unique men in our country. Another unique man is Judge Roy Moore. Now, Judge Moore is not perfect, okay? Judge Moore does not claim to be perfect. Judge Moore rose to national prominence because he put the Ten Commandments for all to see. And according to these folks, according to the mainstream media, according to the global elites, that's virtually a capital crime. Now, Judge Moore knows that the Ten Commandments is the basis of the Judeo-Christian West. And Judge Moore understands and knows that according to the Judeo-Christian West, man is imperfect. Judge Moore has never claimed anything else. And by the way, we're not always going to agree on every topic and every subject. Laura Ingraham, Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, Dr. Savage, Mark Meadows, Jim Jordan, Steve Bannon. We don't all agree on everything, but we agree on the basics. Judge Roy Moore is a good man. He's a courageous man. And most importantly, he's a righteous man. Now, Phil Robertson is going to be up here in a second. He's someone that knows Phil Robertson knows the good book a lot better than I do. But one thing he does understand is Ecclesiastes. People say, why are we so divided? Why are we not united? Well, there's a time and season for everything under heaven. And sometimes there's a time for peace. And sometimes there's a time for war. We're not going to hug out our differences. We're going to have to fight for our differences. Now, we're going to fight at the ballot box. We're going to fight in opinion pieces. We're going to fight by talking to our neighbors. We're going to fight by the lived experience of our lives to show other people this is the right way to live. This is the right way to be an American. This is what being an American citizen's about. They talk about divisives, and being a nationalist is divisive. Economic nationalism is what's going to pull us together. It does not matter your race, your color, your ethnicity, your gender, your religion, your sexual preference. It matters that you're a citizen of the greatest republic in the history of mankind. The elites are not going to have an option anymore of economic hate crimes against the people of this country. Those jobs are your jobs. There's a time for everything, and there's a time to fight. And tomorrow, there's a time to decide. Alabama, tomorrow, gets to show the entire world, not just the nation. You get to show the BBC. You get to show the NHK in Japan, CCTV in China, the Guardian newspaper from England, the Times of London, all of them, New York Times, the Washington Post, the entire fake news industry. You get to show them that this populist, nationalist, conservative movement is on the rise. And Judge Roy Moore represents your values. He represents the state of Alabama's values. Because remember one thing, when you walk in that voting booth tomorrow, a vote for Judge Roy Moore is a vote for Donald J. Trump. And a vote for Donald J. Trump is a vote to make America great again. God bless you, Alabama. God bless Judge Moore. God bless Donald Trump and his family. God bless the United States of America. I'm honored now to bring up one of the great men of our country, the Duck Commander himself, Phil Robertson.
All right. Let me reach in here and grab my sword in case I need it. So I came over here. Judge Moore asked me to talk to y'all. I started to wear my suit. But it occurred to me I don't own a suit. Or a cell phone, and I've never turned on a computer in my 71 years on the earth. And someone said, how do you function without a cell phone and a computer? My answer is, very peacefully. I have enough troubles without one of those things. Health care. Big debate, Alabama. For the United States government, they're going to take your money to try to make sure 325 million people have health care insurance. We're already 20 trillion in the hole. You say, look, I didn't have any kind of health insurance for 50 years. None. You say, did your family have health care insurance, your mom and daddy or your kinfolk? We never heard of that. You say, well, what if something had happened? It didn't. But look, you know why you shouldn't get too concerned about Obamacare or whatever they replace it with, if they replace it? You know why you shouldn't get all excited? Alabama, any kind of health care you get, it's not going to keep you out of a 6-foot hole. Right? What if we all going into a 6-foot hole anyway, with or without health care? You're like, they may could slow it down maybe and give you a few more years. You say, the dude is saying, I'm going to die. Therefore, why don't you all invest in eternal health care? Hey, it's already been paid for. Won't cost you a dime. Your body will be resurrected from the grave. I'm like, how much does that cost me? He said, it's already been paid for. I'm going with eternal health care. Look, if this book is true, I will, if I get ailments, I will say, Lord, help me with this ailment. And if you don't and you take me now, thank you for that resurrection. That's one. Two is the 10 Commandments. Now, Alabama, I'm a C+ man. I feel pretty good about it. You say, C+? I'm smarter than half of them. I'm not a rocket scientist. But listen, I'll start with number 5. Children, honor your father and mother. Now let's see. I noticed something. They got on Judge Roy Moore. What in the world, putting your 10 Commandments in the courthouse? Well, we got to get them out of. You can't put the 10 Commandments in a courthouse so everybody can see them. We'll take your job unless you haul those things out. So number 5 says, children, honor your father and mother. Well, I've noticed, Alabama, when children do not honor their father and mother, and they drive too fast, they get commode-hugging drunk, they tear up people's property, and the laws catch them, guess where they end up? At the courthouse. You're like, huh. Number 6, don't murder. You want to try that one on? You say, when they catch me, I'm going to go to the courthouse. Yeah, don't commit adultery. Now, gentlemen, if your woman catches you with another woman, there's a pretty strong possibility you may have a court date coming up. I'm just saying. Let's see. Don't steal. You burglarize someone's home. You rob a bank. Here comes the laws. You say, where do they take those? Courthouse. Don't lie. What did they do to old Martha Stewart? She got $1 billion. You say, what happened to her when she lied to the feds? Courthouse. Don't covet. You spend more than you have, Alabama. You get to where you can't pay your bills. You say, what in the world happened? Well, bankruptcy. Well, go down to the courthouse. So look, I'm a C+ man, little redneck here out of Louisiana. If you're going to end up at the courthouse for violating the 10 Commandments, that may be a pretty good place to put them. I'm just saying. I have to read you this. Make sure every last one of you, whatever it takes, get off your rump and vote. Make sure you cast your vote. You tell everybody you know, better get down there and vote. I'm going to read to you why. Roy Moore is a godly man, or I wouldn't be here. This text comes from a writing to the Roman Empire. I don't know why I'm holding this Bible in my hand. I just want you to know it's a text. I'll just quote it. Since they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, he gave them over to a depraved mind to do what ought not to be done. They become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. It sounds like America, doesn't it? I'm quoting what the Apostle Paul said 2,000 years ago. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, malice. They tell me that you get a lot of that stuff via the internet. Is that true? Yeah. Duh. They are gossips, slanderers, God haters, insolent, arrogant, boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. Remember, as soon as you get God out of your psyche, He's giving you a list after list after list after list of what people do. They invent ways of doing evil. They are senseless. That's why when you look on our streets in America and you see people running around with signs on top of their head, they're all puffed up, you know, won't even acknowledge the flag of the United States of America, the national anthem. You say, what in the world's going on? They're senseless, faithless, no Jesus, heartless, ruthless. When a nation slaughters its offspring, 1 million a year, they always collapse. Those nations do. You can't do that. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do all those things I just listed, they deserve death. They not only do these things, but they approve of those who practice them. Alabama, we better get a godly man in the White House because we are running out of godly men. I'll leave you with this. Those 10 commandments, they trump politics, pun intended.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Well, we're just about to hear the judge, okay? I've called him Chief Justice. I've called him Judge. I want to change the moniker to Senator, yeah? But first, we got to give away something. Y'all okay with that? Because you know that through social media, we had a gun giveaway. Who wants to win a gun? Who all retweeted and got on Facebook and donated and you're in the contest to win a gun? Well, there's not a lot here then. Well, I tell you what, there were people all over the nation who did it. Okay, there's some hands. That's good. There's some hands waving. So all over the nation, California, New York, here, all over the place, folks who retweeted off of the Judge Moore page and shared on Facebook and donated, that was another way to enter, you have won an AR-15. One person has won, all right? It's right here. It's right here. And the winner is, let's see what I got here. It is Gina Boggs from Montgomery, Alabama. Is Gina Boggs here? Gina Boggs is there. Gina Boggs, we will get that to you. All right. Good job, you. Okay. So here's the thing. I've worked with this man since 2000. I've known him since 1993. He is a man of strong conviction. He is a man that you have voted for before. He has been your Chief Justice. If you lived in Etowah County, he has served as your circuit judge. We are Americans. He has served you because he's been to Vietnam. He's West Point graduate. He was a company commander in Vietnam. He is Judge Roy Moore, your next U.S. Senator. He's coming.
I'm not up here to sing, and I hate to follow all these great speakers. Saran Stacy, is Saran still in here? I told him if I ever had to speak after him again, I was going to do something to him, but I'm glad he's gone. Nigel Farage, thank you for coming. Steve Bannon, thank you for coming. That is really an outstanding man. I can tell you he is an outstanding man. He gave me more encouragement than anybody this whole time, and I talked to him once on the telephone and once in person. But he's a wonderful person. Phil Robertson? Wow. You know, I heard something about Phil Robertson, and I think he's gone, so I can tell it. He's not here now. You know, there were some guys come down, a lawyer came down from up north, New York, big guy, and he was going to do some duck hunting. And so he got near Mr. Robertson's properties and he shot a duck, and it fell over in a field. And so he said to himself, I guess I'd go over the field, over the fence and get my duck. But he didn't know it was Mr. Robertson's property. And so he started over and he picked up his duck, and here comes Phil Robertson out with a shotgun. And he said, what are you doing? He said, the lawyer said, well, I'm getting my duck. Phil Robertson says, that ain't your duck. That's my duck. That's my field. And he didn't know who Phil Robertson was, of course. And he said, hey, look, man. He says, I am a rich New York lawyer. I've got a big firm. I could sue you. I could take your farm, your gun, and everything you got. Of course, he didn't know Phil Robertson. He probably had more than the lawyer did. But Phil Robertson just said, well, you ain't in New York. You're down here. And we don't do things that way. And the lawyer said, what do you mean you don't do things that way? He said, well, we don't go to court down here. We got a 3-kick rule. And the lawyer says, what do you mean a 3-kick rule? Never heard of that. And Phil said, well, it's easy. I get 3 kicks, you get 3 kicks, I get 3 kicks, and the first one who quits loses. And the lawyer was a big, strong guy, and he looked at Phil and he says, I think I can take this guy. But he didn't know Phil Robertson. So Phil Robertson said, okay, I go first. So Phil hauled off and kicked him right you know where. And he bent over in pain, and he come up, and Phil Robertson, more agile than he looks, he came up with a snap kick to his chin and knocked him on his back. And the lawyer's thinking he was about dead, till Phil walked over and kicked him in the side. And he thought he was going to die, but the guy started feeling good. And so he got a smile on his face because it was his turn. He got up and he said, okay, farmer, it's my turn. And Phil Robertson said, oh no, I quit. You can get your duck. Well, we're in Alabama. And in Alabama, for the rest of the world to hear, we dare defend our rights. We don't stop kicking. This is a very important time. I think there was a guy here I wanted to see. There he is, right over here in this corner. Y'all see this guy with the ribbons on? If you can't see, you got to see this man. I want you. I don't want to move him around a bunch. He's over 90. But I want to kick him because I tell you, he's been through it. You know, he said the Pledge of Allegiance. And didn't he do a good job? And if you notice, he was standing, 93 years old. And you know why he's standing? Because this man has fought for his country before you were born. Now, let me ask this. Is there anybody here that was in the Army in 1941? Anybody? He was. From South Alabama, he went into the Army and was shipped over to the Philippines before the Japanese came. And in 1942, the Japanese came. And after he killed about thousands, they got him. And they marched him across the Philippines, the Bataan Death March. Have you ever heard of it? Yes. You know how many people are living? Not very many. He was in the Bataan Death March. They marched him back. They took him to Japan. He stayed in a concentration camp for the rest of the war. He risked his life many times. Once they nearly cut his head off for putting his hands in his pocket. This man is a hero. This man knows. Give him a hand. But I want to tell you what's special about this man. He's 93 years old, and he stood for the Pledge of Allegiance. He stood when the national anthem, and he saluted and put his hand over his heart. He stood. We're missing that today in our country. We're missing that today. And they talk about the law. You know, the law requires you, says you should stand and put your hand over your heart. That's in the 36 USC 301, last amended in 2008. That's the law, United States Code. When are we going to get back to the law? We shouldn't need the law when we've done what he's done. We are living fat and happy. But hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. Back in the days of Israel, it could be said of America. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of America, for the Lord hath the controversy with the inhabitants of this land, because there's no truth nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying and killing and stealing, they break forth, and blood toucheth blood. Therefore shall the land mourn, and every one that liveth therein shall languish. We've forgotten God. We've forgotten the gracious hand which preserved us in peace and multiplied, enriched, and strengthened us, and vainly imagined in the deceitfulness of our own hearts that all of these blessings were produced by some superior wisdom and virtue of our own. Intoxicated with unbroken success, we've become too self-sufficient to feel the necessity of redeeming and preserving grace, too proud to pray to the God who made us. We've got to go back to God. We've got to go back to a moral base. You know, it's a great honor for me, and you put yourself in my shoes. I'm just a country boy from North Alabama. And to have people like Steve Bannon, Nigel Farage, Sarant Stacy, and Phil Robertson, and others who have talked to you, to have them come long distances. And I'm not forgetting Senator Tripp Pittman. Give him a hand. He's been very... But it's an honor for me. But I'm going to tell you, I would gladly have declined an honor to which I find myself unequal. I have not the calmness and impartiality which the infinite importance of this occasion demands. I will not deny the charge of my enemies that resentment for the accumulated injuries of our country and an ardor for a glory rising to enthusiasm may deprive me of that accuracy of judgment and expression which men of cooler passions might possess. So let me beseech you then to hear me with caution, to examine without prejudice and to correct the mistakes into which I may be hurried by my zeal. That was Samuel Adams on August 1st, 1776. When he's explaining to the people of the country why they even did the Declaration. Why they did it. And we've forgotten. We've forgotten it's all about God. We have explored the temple of royalty, he said, and found that the idol that we bow down to has eyes that see not, ears that hear not our prayers, and a heart like the nether millstone. But we have this day restored the sovereign, to whom alone all men ought to be obedient. He reigns in heaven, and with a perpetuous eye beholds his subjects, assuming that freedom of thought and dignity of self-direction which he bestowed upon them. From the rising to the setting sun, may his kingdom come. We need to go back and learn our history. You know, today there's a big dispute about taking down monuments, about forgetting our history. We can't forget our history. If we forget our history, we will repeat it. America is great because America has overcome many, many problems. And when we take an oath to that flag, Pledge of Allegiance, or when we stand up and sing the national anthem, we should be proud that we live in the greatest country of the world. We should appreciate people like Colonel Frazier. You don't have to tell him to stand at 93. He stands. Stand, therefore, as it says in Ephesians. He takes a stand for his country, and he still loves his country. I should keep back my opinion. Guilty of treason toward my country and an act of disloyalty toward the majesty of heaven, which I revere above all earthly kings. You know, I'm running for the United States Senate. Tomorrow is a very, very important time. This election is critical to this nation. For whatever reason, God has put me in this election at this time, and all the nation is watching. All Washington is watching to see what the people of Alabama do tomorrow. Do we defend our rights and those of our children and grandchildren? Will we take a stand against a Washington establishment who's trying to come down here and buy this election with $30 million? Will we send them a message? Very clear. Alabama can't be bought. Alabama will take a stand. And I'm going to tell you, when you do, everybody will see it. Everybody will be encouraged to take them on and stop the people that are trying to keep their jobs up there and do nothing. In November 2016, when Donald Trump was elected, everybody was filled with hope. Hope that we were going to have something happen in Washington. And what have we had? Riots, demonstrations, protests. Nothing has happened. We've had bills, hundreds of bills, 500 in 2016, a low 200, I'm understanding, in 2017. And how many have gone through the Senate? Because the Senate won't move. They don't want to move. If they did, how hard is it to repeal Obamacare? It takes a vote, yes or no. Quite frankly, Obama didn't care. And neither does your government when it tries to take over an industry that should be left to the free enterprise system upon which this nation was founded. The biggest obstacle of free enterprise is the United States government, which imposes regulations, taxes. Now listen, I know a little bit about the issues in this case, and I could talk to you all night about the issues. I could talk to you about DACA, Deferred Action on Childhood Arrivals. What was that? What law was that? Why was it unlawful? You see, the DREAM Act didn't pass. Development, Relief, Education of Alien Minors. It didn't pass in Congress. So Janet Napolitano, director of the Homeland Security Department, decides to issue a memo. A memo. And she issues a memo that we're not going to take action. That is her job. That was her job. They were supposed to take action on this, but they didn't. Now, you see, who's to blame for this? The president? No, he didn't do it. He let it be done. Congress did not stand up and impeach her for trying to violate the law. Political. That goes back to checks and balances. And if we'll go back to understanding our Constitution, we wouldn't have the problem. The freemen of America did not wait. To usurp power had strengthened itself by exercising and entangled the question in precedents. They saw all the consequences in the principle, and they avoided the consequences by denying the principle. We revere this lesson too much soon to forget it, because it is proper to take alarm at the first experiment on our liberties. That was James Madison. James Madison had it right. They didn't wait. They took action, and that's what we've got to do today. If we don't, we're going to lose this nation. We've got to start recognizing that the Constitution was there to guide our government, that there is a meaning behind the 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor permitted by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively to the people. I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that's the lamp of experience. In judging from my experience, what has happened in the federal government in the last 10 years to justify those hopes which so many have been satisfied to solace themselves. We've got to take action. It's time to take action. An appeal to God and our Constitution is all that has left us. They tell us we're weak. They tell us we're weak, unable to cope with so formidable an adversary. So, on September 26th, you have an opportunity to send them a message in Washington, D.C. Tell them that millions upon millions of dollars can't change the people of Alabama. You have an opportunity to lead the rest of the country. I talked to someone yesterday who's waiting to see what happens here to decide if he will run for the Senate. They're waiting to see, because if they can't beat me with $30 million and we've only had about 1.5, if they can't beat me, then there's a crack in the dam. And then the whole thing falls. Mitch McConnell needs to be replaced. And your vote tomorrow may determine that. So get your friends and get your neighbors and get them out. This is a very important election, not just for me. Men come and go. But when God gives you the opportunity to make a difference, you should seize upon it. And this is Alabama, and there is no better place than Alabama to do that. You know, it's been very hard for my wife and myself to wither nearly 3 months of negative ads that we couldn't answer with money because we didn't have it. Ads that were completely false. That I don't believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in the Second Amendment. You know, they say guns are bad, that they kill. Well, I know a lot about guns. I'm the one that has used guns in combat. I know what guns do. I know what guns do. Colonel Frazier knows what guns do. But Colonel Frazier's not going to shoot anybody because he's got a heart of gold. Guns don't kill, people kill. Cars kill. Are we going to get rid of our cars? Are we going to get rid of our knives? No, we've got to bring morality back to our country. We've got to uphold the Second Amendment. You know, it's very hard because I have written briefs in Heller versus Washington, D.C., in McDonald versus Chicago, which were two cases that went before the United States Supreme Court about the right to keep and bear arms. And it hurts to see I'm soft on guns. Soft? I don't even know what that means. I've upheld the Second Amendment. I will fight for you, just like I fought in Vietnam to uphold the Constitution, just like when I was sworn on the banks of the Hudson River many, many years ago, 1965 to be exact. And since then, I've learned to appreciate what our founding fathers did. And I want to bring the knowledge of that Constitution to Washington, D.C., so they can learn what they can do and what they can't do. If we don't get a handle on our indebtedness or national debt, we're going to wind up like Greece or Argentina. Imagine, ladies, I said this to my wife the other day, if you had a credit card and every time it came due, you could just raise the credit limit. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? But one day you would wake up and realize that you can't even pay the interest unless 1/5 of your entire expenditures is paid to the company. 1/5 of everything you spend a year just to pay the interest. Do you know that's where we are in 24/7? That's where our nation will be. And what happens? Democrat, Republican, they all raise the credit debt ceiling. Now let me tell you why that's wrong. One of the senators, Senator Paul, put an amendment on a recent increase in the debt ceiling. They just wanted $15 billion. So he said, well, why don't we take a little bit out of this foreign aid, $57 billion, that we've got set aside? And the Senate voted it down. They voted it down. And I'm thinking, why would they do that? There's nothing in the United States Constitution about giving foreign aid to foreign countries. We need to wake up as a nation. We need to wake up as a people. And time is getting late. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop, but my heart will keep for this country. We need to stop federal judges who think they're above the law, who think they can make the law as they go. I want to tell you that I thank you very much for supporting me. People ask all the time, how's this happening? And I tell them, it's not because of my campaign. It's not because of the people around me. They're great people. But God is in this. Does that mean I will win? No. I don't know what God means of anything, but I do know his hand is upon us. And whether we win or lose, we'll continue to fight to bring this nation back to what it once was. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. May God bless you, state of Alabama, United States of America.
March along, sing a song with the army of the free.
All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us and choosing us as your stream of choice. So tomorrow is the runoff between Moore and Strange. So make sure that you guys join us tomorrow. We're going to be streaming live what is going to happen, and we're going to bring you guys up to date on everything of the vote tomorrow in Alabama. So make sure that you guys join us here at Golden State Times. I think there's going to be a press briefing earlier in the day, but I'm not 100% sure. But also always check on the channel. Make sure that you're subscribed and the notification is on. That way you can get a heads up and when we go live. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Jen. I'm from Golden State Times. And I'll see you guys here tomorrow. Thank you very much for everyone that shared the stream. And thank you very much for everyone that gave it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, give it a thumbs up on your way out, and I hope to see you guys here tomorrow for more live coverage of the Alabama runoff between Judge Roy Moore and Luther Strange. So make sure that you guys join us here at Golden State Times. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Peace.